Welcome in. I have some exciting news. I was able to find a copy of the 1978 Grand Juror Handbook at the State Library in Concord, New Hampshire, which is actually the oldest state library in the country. And it outlines the duties and obligations of the grand jury. I've been at this for a bit now, since realizing the power of the grand jury to investigate whatever they want. Doesn't matter if the prosecutor okays it, the county attorney in New Hampshire, they can choose to investigate and write a report or issue their own indictment, which is called a presentment, on whatever they so choose. And I think the big three that they need to be looking into are corrupt politicians, bureaucrats, and corporations. If we look into the booklet, we'll see exactly what their duties and obligations are. This booklet is intended as an introduction to the New Hampshire grand jury. Hopefully students, teachers, grand jurors, and other community members who are interested in expanding their understanding of the grand jury will find this information helpful. We go to the next page. Roman numeral 3, nature of the grand jury. We'll see that A is the accusing body as to serious crimes. Well understood. Prosecutor comes in, says, I want to indict this guy for X, Y, or Z. Grand jury says yay or nay. If they say yay, it goes to the petit jury, which are the 12 jurors that everyone sees on TV, the trial jury. If they say no, it disappears. No one knows anything because everything was confidential in the grand jury hearings. B, grand jury as an investigatory body. Interesting. Check that out. At the bottom of page 2, we see grand jury as an investigatory body. In addition to the duty of the grand jury to hear evidence and decide whether formal criminal charges should be made, the grand jury also has the important power to make investigations. Grand jury, on its own initiative, may on rare occasions subpoena witnesses to appear or compel the production of documents. This type of investigation is thereafter reported to the court in what is called a presentment or report. The problem is that the judicial branch is not informing the grand jurors. So each county has a grand jury, 23 members, and actually Hillsborough, which has Manchester, has 2 grand juries. They have a North and South division. So we have 11 grand juries in New Hampshire that are continuously operating, and they serve for 4 months each. The benefit of such a structure is that you don't have entrenched interest. These people are coming and they're going. So they're disinterested, but they have immense authority to correct corruption. And this is not something new. In California, they have 58 counties, and each one has a civil grand jury. And by law, they're required to inspect the county jails and other institutions, and also audit a government agency every term. Some of those reports are very interesting, and I hope in due time to analyze some of them in video so people can see what's going on and what they actually look like. Because I think we need that here. New Hampshire has had some issues, and I think it's important to get the grand jury to start looking at these without a political lens. Just simply saying, this can be done better, this is sketchy as hell, let's move on. And I think that's really important. And without getting these political points and red team, blue team, I shouldn't say nobody, people still buy into that, but I'm done with it. It's us versus the corrupt entities who are looting this country blind. It's really at the point now where it seems like people are just stealing anything that's not bolted down. People kind of realize the powers that ought not be. They kind of realize the game, the song, the music's about to end, and they're trying to grab whatever they can before it's all over. That's how it looks like from where I'm sitting right now. But I would like to take you on a journey into the current grand jury orientation material. It's a video put out by the judicial branch, and I am not able to figure out what year it was made. I do know the judge that's in it at the end, he retired in 2011, I believe, and his daughter, who was a judge, also retired. Just to show you how old the video is. And now let's look at the video that the judicial branch provides grand jurors in order to let them know what their duties and obligations are. It might be shocking what they leave out.
Welcome to Superior Court. The grand jury system, being judged by our peers, is at the very heart of the American system of justice. For the American citizen, there is no finer contribution to our democratic society than serving as a juror. This video will explain your duties as grand jurors and instruct you about the law that applies to your deliberations. If you have any questions or do not understand something, you will be able to ask questions of a judge after viewing this video. In New Hampshire, we rely on 2 different jury systems. Most of you are probably more familiar with the petit jury than with the grand jury. The petit jury is made up of 12 people who listen to evidence from the prosecution and the defense, and then decide the guilt or innocence of a defendant. Their verdict must be unanimous, and guilt must be proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The grand jury is made up of a group between 12 and 23 people who decide, based upon evidence presented by the prosecuting attorney, whether or not that evidence is sufficient to require the person to answer the charge in superior court. If the grand jury decides that the person should be charged, an indictment is issued, and that person is entitled to a trial by what's known officially as a petit jury. No person may be brought to trial on a felony charge, then, without first being indicted by the grand jury. The grand jury is a very old and important institution in our system of criminal justice. It began hundreds of years before our nation was formed and is one of the oldest institutions in the English law. The grand jury was referred to in the Magna Carta in 1215 and was probably in use as early as 1166. Under English law, the grand jury was regarded as one of the chief protections against baseless charges. The grand jury was considered to be a shield between the crown and the English people. It was a protection against oppressive and unjust prosecutions that the king might try to bring against his enemies. When America was first settled, the grand jury process was incorporated into our system of justice.
Now, I was at first debating whether this was accidental, somebody forgot what the grand jury was actually supposed to be doing, but I don't believe so anymore. I believe this is a concerted effort to simply sweep under the rug their ability to actually investigate what's going on in government and to if there's any doubt that this is simply an oversight on the part of certain entities in government, let's look at Beyond High School, Guide to Your Rights and Responsibilities. This is published by the New Hampshire Bar Association, the Law-Related Education Program. I found this online. I said, you know what? I want to know what the Bar Association is providing in the way of information to students. This is important. They're leaving high school. Let's find out what they tell them, especially about the grand jury, which they might serve on, right? But if we go to page 7, they're talking about jury duty. Okay. Let's go to page 8. And the only time they mention grand jury is midway through a page where it says, if you are called for jury duty and do not appear, then you will be charged with contempt of court. Your jury service will not last longer than 30 days unless a grand jury or trial is in progress, in which you will be required to serve until the process is completed. What? I mean, they have involvement in a lawsuit, a whole bunch of other chapters in this book. I would think it would be kind of important to talk about the grand jury and how they can investigate corrupt entities within and outside of government. I mean, that's kind of important, I would think, right? So here we are. And in order to get this message out even further and to allow people in the community to bring forth complaints that they believe the grand jury should be looking into, I'm going to hold a public meeting in the downstairs meeting room of the Northfield Town Hall on July 27th. That's a Monday, 5 to 7 p.m. And the goal is to create a framework within which people can submit complaints and have them brought before the grand jury. This is how it's done in other states. You can bring issues before the grand jury, complaints. As we'll see right here, we have the Shasta County, California request for investigation form. You can request the grand jury investigate an issue. And that is just so fundamental to an accountable government that I don't understand how people could argue about that. And yeah, the goal is to get that moving and to basically have within each county in New Hampshire such an organization, a meeting, as it were, that people can bring these forward and have it orderly, in an orderly manner, brought before the grand jury. It's the only way we're going to get out of this mess. Red team, blue team, as I said earlier, it's just not working. Anytime somebody wants to look into something, it's argued that it's political in nature, and it just goes nowhere. I saw it. I was a state rep for 2 years, from 22 to 24. And in a later video, I hope to get into some of the stuff I saw in there. But it comes down to a bunch of nothing. Nothing actually happens. It's It's fake. It's all theater. I say it's fake and gay a lot of times in there, especially. But we need to move on beyond that and to actual constructive conversations and actions, which would be activating, re-empowering the grand jury to do what they were designed to do. They were formed in 1166 AD. The grand jury is not some new institution. It predates the country by hundreds of years. And that means something. We should not let go of this just because somebody in a black dress, some legal official, says, oh, they can't look into that anymore. We have a better system. We got these county prosecutors. Mind you, in 2024, 8 out of the 10 county attorneys in New Hampshire were elected without a general election opponent. That doesn't seem like a real election. That seems like a selection. And more importantly, there is a restriction that you have to be a member of the bar in order to even run for county attorney, which, given that it's not in the Constitution, I don't see how you can put a restriction on that. For sheriff, you don't need any qualifications. How's that? So you need no qualification to be sheriff, but you need to be a member of this association to be county attorney, who, as we're told, is the only person that can bring forth investigations. Very confusing. And I think in the whole mix, the people have been left out of the equation. And I'm looking to change that. If you can make the meeting, that'd be great. If you would like to start something in your neck of the woods, reach out. I'd love to help. I have plenty of copies of this. I did put on the bottom, reprinted by candidate for Merrimack County Sheriff, Jason Gerhard, me, just to get the word out, and I was handing them out around Concord. But I have the original file. I can just send that to you and just run with it. I think it's important to get the word out. I do believe that people overall want an accountable government. They don't want this corrupt entity that is just pillaging everything in its path. People can't afford to keep their homes. People are getting kicked out of their homes. We got to really get back to basics. And I think the first things first is they used to call it the People's Panel. It's the voice of the community. So with that, I'll let you go, and thank you.